When the name Lorraine Whittaker is brought up, many instantly call to mind images of pain, tragedy, and isolation. For decades, she was disregarded by society, an object of morbid curiosity in the mountains of West Virginia, due to her profoundly isolated lineage. Lorraine is the daughter of R.Y. and Elizabeth Whittaker, who were first-degree cousins. The tale of Lorraine's life began with a choice that many struggle to grasp. However, it was a common custom in a community where the lives of inhabitants were defined by both social and geographical isolation. In the remote, tiny town of Od, where options for marriage were scarce, virtually non-existent, the union between close relatives became a seemingly necessary practice in the eyes of the community. Yet, to outsiders, Lorraine and her family evolved into a genetic enigma, a family perpetually isolated and marked by difficulties that few ever sought to fully comprehend. To many, Lorraine represents the tragedy of consanguinity, a woman whose name echoes in hushed whispers, shouldering an unseen burden of societal judgments. The narrative of her life is not solely about the mental and physical hardships arising from closed genetics. It is also the story of a woman who was marginalized, treated as a mere curiosity, a distant, misunderstood figure rejected by a society that never truly attempted to grasp her real essence. What many fail to see, and what few have bothered to discover, is that beneath this image of suffering and tragedy, Lorraine Whittaker is a unique individual. She is a woman who, despite all the challenges life imposed, possessed a heart of fortitude that most never learned to recognize. The untold truth is that Lorraine, deep down, was more than the stigma society affixed to her. For her family and community, she was a silent yet profoundly significant presence. Her narrative is far more complex, more humanly resilient, and beautifully enduring than many could ever perceive. The weight of prejudice and genetic origin. I encourage you to check if you are already subscribed to the channel. 3 times weekly, I deliver true accounts of consanguinity, isolated families, and the critical need to understand their genetic ramifications. Activate the bell so you don't miss more incredible, lesson-filled stories. Click subscribe now. Even today, Lorraine Whittaker continues to live under the massive weight of the social stigma stemming from her origins. As the daughter of first-degree cousins R.Y. and Elizabeth Whittaker, who married, Lorraine was and still is viewed by surrounding society as a genetic curiosity. The marriage of her mother and father, both cousins, which established a lineage defined by consanguinity, remains a source of prejudice and revulsion for many. In the present, Lorraine not only bears the load of being the child of a practice many deem unnatural or wrong, but she is also constantly judged for something she never chose, a reality imposed upon her by her parents' decisions. While some may see consanguinity purely as a genetic matter, her origin is often treated by society as a moral flaw or a sin. To this day, Lorraine is stigmatized because of her genetic background. The world around her still views her as an anomaly, and her family's story is frequently reduced to a genetic mistake or error, without any attempt to understand the situation's true complexity. For many, revulsion is triggered by Lorraine's consanguineous mother and her marriage to her cousin, and the resulting social prejudice continues to dictate how she is treated. Even in a more informed era regarding health and genetic issues, Lorraine is rarely met with empathy. Instead, she carries the burden of a society's ignorance, a society that judges without hesitation, failing to comprehend what truly occurred. People persist in looking at her with suspicion, often from a distance, as though her origins somehow made her less deserving of equal treatment. The stigma Lorraine confronts now isn't merely about her physical appearance or the genetic difficulties she carries. The fact that her parents are cousins, her family's story, remains a primary source of social exclusion. Despite being an adult woman now, society has never fully embraced her. Those who know her continue to treat her with distance and doubt, frequently without attempting to understand the real reasons for her condition. Lorraine, with her communication challenges and physical differences, is still perceived as a marginalized figure, someone who simply doesn't conform to societal norms. What few realize is that she never chose this situation. She didn't choose to be born to consanguineous parents. She didn't choose to have physical issues or cognitive difficulties. All Lorraine ever wanted was to be treated as an ordinary person. But her genetic origin leads society to reject and isolate her further. A woman of strength and unconditional love. To many, she is merely a curiosity, something to be observed and pushed to the margins. Simultaneously, Lorraine continues to grapple with a lack of support from social workers, educators, and even doctors. She failed to receive the appropriate care needed to manage the challenges that recessive illnesses inflicted upon her mind and body. The social neglect experienced by the Whittaker family, historically and currently, reflects the isolation they endure and the scarcity of resources. No one was there to explain the changes occurring in her mind and body. Furthermore, support for her specific condition remains limited, even as the years pass. Lorraine still suffers because options for assistance are few, and the medical community has failed to offer sufficient, adequate solutions. Today, Lorraine still finds herself profoundly isolated. The emotional solitude she feels is deeper than that experienced by those around her. She remains trapped in a bubble of rejection, constantly excluded or treated with detachment. Though she is a grown woman, she has been unable to overcome the effects of the isolation that started in her childhood. The greatest emotional hurdles Lorraine faces to this day are the lack of social acceptance and the contempt shown by people. The world around Lorraine, sadly, still sees her as a curiosity and, in many instances, as someone unworthy of being understood. The judgment on her origin and the stigma of consanguinity continue to weigh her down, restricting her interactions and her capacity to forge meaningful relationships. Instead of treating her with compassion and humanity, the people around her see only the reflection of a genetic practice they don't fully comprehend. The emotional and social barriers are immense, and Lorraine is once again battling a stigma that wasn't her choosing. Despite her age, Lorraine still deals with considerable emotional difficulties. Her daily life is made more challenging by the weight of her family history and the persistent social prejudice. Internally, she fights against feelings of inadequacy and being undervalued. In her own mind, the judgment of others acts as an emotional dam, preventing her from living a fulfilling and complete life. The shame imposed by society is a silent muzzle that stifles her free expression. Though she is a woman still living with numerous difficulties, no one sees the person she truly is. Social judgment prevents her from revealing her authentic humanity. She is not just a woman with cognitive difficulties and physical differences. She is a person with desires, deep feelings, and a story that deserves to be understood and shared, not judged. Yet, behind the loneliness she still faces and the social stigma, is a woman of immense resilience, strength, and life. Lorraine's story transcends social exclusion and judgment. What many fail to realize is that she is far more than these visible difficulties. She is a woman with a rich, emotionally complex story and great inner strength that society has overlooked. Lorraine is not merely defined by genetic problems or the judgment of society. Looking at her life now, we see someone who, despite marginalization, possesses a silent dignity and wisdom that has never been truly acknowledged. Her true essence extends past her physical difficulties or appearance. She is a woman with a resilient heart and a strong soul who, despite judgment and exclusion, continues to fight for her humanity and live with an indomitable spirit. One of Lorraine's least known qualities is her capacity for dedication and love. Far from being seen as a woman marked by genetic tragedy, Lorraine has consistently been a mother and caregiver who devoted herself fully to her family. Despite the marginalization and judgments from society, she has always been loyal to her own, remaining by her siblings and children, caring for them with admirable patience, often without the recognition she deserved. Lorraine has been a woman of immense kindness who, in spite of her personal challenges, has never failed to show unconditional love to her family. Even in her isolated situation and loneliness, Lorraine has served as a pillar of support for her loved ones. She not only accepted her motherly duties but also demonstrated immeasurable dedication to her relatives and brothers, always willing to look after them, even when others marginalized her. Society does not grasp that Lorraine's strength lies not in her communication difficulties or appearance, but in the profoundness of her love and her capacity to care for others. The way she embraces life's hardships with a generous heart is a powerful example of resilience. Even when she is treated with prejudice and ignored, she continues to care for those she loves. This facet of her character, the ability to give love even when she receives none, is one of her greatest attributes. Lorraine's true greatness resides not in genetic errors caused by consanguinity or her physical differences, but in the strength of will she exhibits daily. She lives in a society that rejects her based on deep prejudice and fails to understand her. Yet, she refuses to surrender. Instead of allowing loneliness or pain to dominate her, Lorraine persists in fighting for her dignity and humanity. Her inner strength is what sustains her, allowing her to face emotional and physical difficulties, as well as society's lack of understanding about her condition. In the present, Lorraine doesn't live in silence, but she still confronts the loneliness of being judged solely on her appearance and the prejudice many hold against her. Overcoming society's rejection is difficult, but Lorraine continues to resist, finding the strength to maintain her identity and live. Despite all the adversities, she is a decent woman, defined not by the limitations society imposed on her, but by her resilience. Finding peace in isolation. Throughout her life, Lorraine evolved into an introspective woman, someone who started to accept her solitude in a way few can comprehend. The loneliness she experienced didn't shatter her. Instead, it made her a more reflective and profound person. She began to realize that society could judge her for what she was, but that judgment did not define her true essence. Even while living isolated in many respects, Lorraine found a path to self-acceptance and understanding of her difficulties. The inner wisdom she developed over time mirrors her daily struggle to accept and grasp her own journey. Loneliness, which is often viewed as a hardship, became an opportunity for Lorraine to find peace and grow emotionally. She didn't require society's acceptance to feel fulfilled or happy. Her strength is her ability to overcome adversities alone and discover what truly matters within herself. Despite all the isolation, contempt, and rejection, Lorraine remains firm, refusing to let external opinion define her. Lorraine's real legacy isn't in the genetic differences she carries or in the judgment of society. Her legacy is her capacity to rise each day, care for her family with unconditional love, and be a woman of great wisdom and strength. Hers is a story of resistance, a woman who refused to be defeated, even in the face of a life scarred by stigma. The world perceives her one way, but Lorraine Whittaker is so much more than that. She is the embodiment of love and resilience. She is someone who lived a life filled with adversity but never lost the ability to fight, to care, and to love. She is not a tragedy or a genetic curiosity, but a woman who, despite everything, leaves a mark of humanity and courage. The call for empathy and support. Currently, Lorraine Whittaker and her family continue to live a life where public judgment is a daily reality, particularly with their increasing exposure on social media. Social media, a mirror of modern society, has become a space where personal stories gain visibility, but are often viewed through a superficial lens. Lorraine, as a member of the Whittaker family, has been subjected to critical and merciless opinions, mostly based solely on prejudices and genetic appearances. Yet, amid the judgment, there is always a layer of humanity that many overlook. While countless people continue to look with doubt and contempt, others choose to act differently, with compassion and empathy. The destructive comments and criticism on social media do not define Lorraine's worth. Rather, they reflect society's failure to understand social isolation and genetic issues. However, the Whittakers' story isn't limited to superficial judgments and criticism. After the family gained visibility, Lorraine's story touched the hearts of numerous supportive, good people who saw a genuine opportunity to help. These individuals realized the Whittakers were not a joke or a curiosity, but a family with real needs deserving of understanding and assistance. Consequently, support efforts began to emerge. Material aid, financial donations, and support aimed at improving the family's living conditions started to alleviate some of their immediate hardships. Money donations allowed Lorraine and her family members to improve their housing, purchase basic products and clothing, and even buy food. This support was crucial for meeting the family's essential needs. Nevertheless, while the material support was significant, the genuine help required by the Whittaker family extends beyond the financial. Despite the good intentions of many, the psychological and medical assistance that Lorraine and her family truly need remains an obstacle yet to be overcome. Financial support was essential for improving immediate living conditions, but the impact of physical and cognitive difficulties caused by extreme consanguinity cannot be resolved by donations alone. Lorraine, like other Whittaker family members, still requires specialized treatment that is not easily accessible. Major challenges persist, including geographical isolation and limited access to specialized doctors. Furthermore, the absence of psychological support is another critical element. The emotional loneliness and social stigma that Lorraine has endured throughout her life have not been resolved by specific actions. She still faces the emotional difficulties of being seen as a social curiosity, which demands continuous psychological support. The specialized psychological care she and her family need to cope with the impact of their emotional conditions remains an unmet necessity. Lorraine Whittaker's story is not unique. Many marginalized and isolated individuals encounter similar difficulties. Her situation highlights how modern society frequently fails to provide comprehensive support to those who need it most. The help extended to Lorraine, though significant from some members of the community, is still limited. The lack of understanding regarding issues of social isolation and genetic consanguinity prevents assistance from reaching the more complex realms of medical, psychological, and educational care. The real takeaway here is a reflection on what it means to truly help. Giving short-term aid or financial donations is insufficient. What the Whittaker family truly requires is continuous support from a structured network that goes beyond momentary gestures. A deep understanding of their needs must be prioritized, and solidarity must translate into tangible actions focused on long-term transformation for Lorraine's life and her family. The story of the Whittakers, and particularly Lorraine, is a powerful reminder that solidarity must be more than just singular actions. It requires a genuine commitment to the well-being of those who, like Lorraine, live on the fringes of society with few effective resources and even less support. The Whittakers' story challenges us to reconsider how we treat the most vulnerable. By recognizing the unseen difficulties, humanizing people, and acting continuously and meaningfully, we can ensure that everyone has an opportunity to live a decent life and overcome adversity. True solidarity is given without expecting anything in return, with understanding, and with a dedication to building a more inclusive and fairer society. A chance to change the narrative. Today, you have been invited to hear a story of humanity, love, and resilience, not just one of suffering and difficulties. Lorraine Whittaker is a woman who, despite all the burdens life placed upon her, continued to fight, survive, and, above all, love unconditionally. Her history is marked by genetic differences resulting from past decisions within a society defined by prejudice and isolation. Daughter of Elizabeth and R.Y. Whittaker, Lorraine was raised in a closed world where consanguineous marriages were standard. Her life, scarred by social isolation and loneliness, was often denied by society. Consequently, her human worth and true essence were forgotten, reducing her to a genetic curiosity. But today, we have the opportunity to change this. Lorraine's story can no longer be one of marginalization. She deserves to be acknowledged not as someone living in the shadow of her family, but as a woman of compassion, love, and courage. The social judgment against Lorraine is, and has always been, superficial. Many people see her only through her physical differences and appearance caused by consanguinity, failing to see the true strength she holds inside. Lorraine is not a genetic tragedy, nor should she be perceived as worthless. She is a daughter, a sister, a mother with deep feelings and a story that is about more than the mistakes of the past. She is more than the stigmas that society has imposed on her. As a society, we have a profound responsibility to view others through the eyes of understanding and empathy. Lorraine has consistently been treated as a curiosity, but the truth is she is a woman of great wisdom, strength, and dignity. Today, you possess the power to help alter the narrative surrounding her. By leaving loving comments, you can become the light she has always needed to escape the shadow of judgment. You have the ability to be the reason Lorraine feels valued and seen as the amazing woman she truly is. Imagine if everyone who learns a story as crucial as Lorraine's decided to take action to help. It's easy to look at someone and think that solidarity exists only when we are physically nearby, but that is false. In our modern world, virtual support can be incredibly powerful too. By sharing positive and beautiful comments, you will show Lorraine that she is no longer alone. She can finally feel that she is a woman who is genuinely loved and understood, not a curiosity. Every single word you write could be the emotional turning point she needs to find peace with her story. Lorraine, you are not invisible. Your strength is an inspiration to all of us. This is the kind of message she needs to hear. A simple positive comment has the power to change Lorraine's day and help heal the emotional wounds she carries. Instead of viewing her story through the lens of judgment, let us all choose to see her humanity. She is a woman with a soul, a heart, and a unique and rich story. She is not merely a victim of genetics. It is simple to err by labeling Lorraine negatively and viewing her as an isolated figure. However, by grasping the complexity of her life, we realize that the greatest gift we can offer her is the recognition of her true essence. And that is why you have a chance right now to be a light in Lorraine's life. Let us work together to make her story worthy of compassion and empathy. Let us break down the barriers of judgment and support those who need it most. Lorraine is a woman who deserves to be respected, loved, and valued. Her story is not a source of shame, but an example of unconditional love, resilience, and a fight for her family. By offering your support, you help reclaim the woman who has always been there behind the stigma, forgotten for too long. I now invite you to be the change we aspire to see in Lorraine's life. Leave a comment of support, share her story with others, and help spread solidarity. Here are some phrases you can use in the comments to help Lorraine feel more seen. Lorraine, you are an amazing woman and you deserve all the respect and love. Your story inspires us, Lorraine. May your strength be recognized by everyone. Lorraine, you are more than the stigmas you have endured. You are a true warrior. I am grateful to learn your story, Lorraine. Your courage is a lesson to us all. In addition to leaving your comments, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. The more people who understand Lorraine's true story, the more she will be pulled out of invisibility. Let's help the world see the amazing woman she is, not as a stigma, but as someone deserving of understanding and respect. Her story deserves to be rewritten, and together, we can be the agents of this change. The story of Lorraine Whittaker challenges us to look past prejudice and labels. Each of us can be the light that helps rescue someone from a life of rejection and judgment. Despite the challenges and difficulties she faced, Lorraine deserves to be supported, understood, and seen for her authentic humanity. If you believe that everyone deserves compassion and love can change a life, then help rewrite Lorraine's story. Be the light. Be the change.